What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Ari Teaches Drums. Today we are covering how to play Moeller Strokes for both matched and traditional grip. Before we jump in, I'd like to briefly mention that this video is part of my Fundamentals series that I'm creating here for you. You can check out the full playlist on my channel, where so far I've covered a bunch of topics like grip, other types of strokes, buzz rolls, double strokes, flams, and even more. If you find this content helpful, please feel free to like, drop a comment, and subscribe for even more educational drum content. It really helps to make this channel possible. All right, let's jump in. So what is a Moeller stroke? I like to think of a Moeller stroke as a flowing whip-like motion, which is initiated with a break in the wrist. So I like to think of this stroke in two steps, and I'm just gonna cover match grip approach for right now. I'll cover traditional later in this video. So step one is breaking your wrist. You're not literally gonna break your wrist, of course, but you're going to allow your wrist to break here and then also to lift your arm up. This happens at the same time. So not only am I breaking my wrist, but my arm is also coming up, right? So you can see that. I'm doing a break of the wrist and my arm is lifting. Step two is, once I'm here, is to rotate my wrist up and then come down, and my arm comes down at the same time. So in total, I've got step one and step two. Step one, step two. And it all kind of starts to morph into one motion. So both your wrist and forearm are very much involved together. And like I described earlier, this creates that whip motion that I was talking about. So think of like a classic Western film, like a cowboy, if they're throwing a whip, it's just like that exact type of motion. You could also even think of Harry Potter, like I guess it's kind of like if they're casting a spell with their wand. It's sort of similar to that. So typically Moeller strokes are a lot of times going to be grouped in 3 patterns. So for example, just like this, where you'll do that downstroke to start with the whip, then you'll play a tap, and then you'll play the upstroke, and that initiates the break of the wrist plus the rotation, and then you come back down for the downstroke. So in total, you have the initial whip motion, tap, and then the upstroke, which is also the Moeller rotation of the wrist. And you put that all together and speed it up, it starts to turn to this, which starts to become even a faster motion once you add everything together. So before we get to some exercises, let's break down left-hand traditional Moeller technique. So with this, it's gonna be the same concept of the whip-like motion, but the mechanics of what's happening, I still like to think of in 2 main steps. So what's gonna happen, step one, I'm gonna turn my wrist down. And when I turn my wrist down or in, okay, this way, what's gonna happen is that my arm has to come up at the same time, because if I don't, I'm just gonna hit the drum. So I have to turn my wrist and lift my arm at the same time. That's step one. Step two, I'm gonna rotate my wrist back up and then bring my arm down. So step one, break wrist, lift arm. Step two, rotate, come back down and strike. Step one, step two. 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 And it starts to become this whip-like motion, just like we had on the right hand, right? So the right hand was doing this, left hand is doing this. Okay, and what I failed to mention with the 3-stroke pattern is as you get faster, those taps that I mentioned, the tap down here and then the upstroke, those start to become kind of more tenuto. So what that means is it's not a traditionally low tap. It's going to be a little more beefy than that. It's not going to sound as low and soft as it usually is because of this natural motion. It's going to start to kind of have a little more fullness to it. So especially in drum corps, you're typically, if lines are using Moeller strokes, those inner notes aren't going to be all the way as low as normal taps like we might see with something like this. right? Compared to a pattern like that, if we're letting the Moeller strokes fly, you'll see that the inner notes are much bigger. That's what you'll see with most drum lines, especially at the drum corps and WGI level. Really focus on step 1 and step 2 and achieving that motion for both the right hand and the left hand, whether you're traditional or matched. It's the same concept. Okay, so besides those steps, what are some other keys to achieving the Moeller stroke? So again, I just want to remind you of that whip-like motion. This shouldn't be a standard wrist rotation, right? If you're just doing a standard wrist rotation, you're not engaging your arm enough, and you're not allowing that break of the wrist for the Moeller whip motion. So look for not just having a standard wrist rotation, but also allowing that breakage of the wrist, where you should see the stick literally start to go down first before you rotate, right? Downward and then up. You could look at the tip of the stick to see that. And the back of the stick kind of comes up first. That's another way to think of this. The back of the stick comes up first. So it's very counterintuitive, but it initiates the motion. It allows for a lot of relaxation and then speed as we get faster. A couple other keys to good Moeller strokes is to utilize the natural rebound of the drum and really work with the stick and the drum. Don't work against it. By utilizing the rebound, you're just simply guiding the stick through the motion. You're not forcing the stick. Moeller is all about relaxation and guiding the stick through the natural bounce of the drum and the natural rebound that's happening. And you're guiding the stick through and making sure to place the rhythms at the right time. But you're really trying to almost get out of the way of the stick in a way. You want to keep your fingers on the stick to support it and make sure you don't drop the stick, but you're very much working with the rebound of the drum. One more final key is to focus on efficiency over force. So what I mean by that is that Moeller is all about kind of economy of motion. It seems like we're doing a lot of excess motion, but that whip starts the momentum of the stick in a way, and then we don't want to squeeze or force the stick beyond just getting that whip motion going. And it's very much the opposite of force. We want to focus on staying loose and relaxed. Okay, but why are Moeller strokes useful? How could we actually use them? Well, they're especially useful for singles patterns with accents. So I already covered the 3-stroke pattern where we get this a lot, right? But beyond that, it's really useful in drum set playing where we might have a fast hi-hat groove, like for example, just a 2 pattern going something like that, where the right hand on the hi-hat is going to be utilizing that Moeller stroke. Moeller tap, Moeller upstroke to get back. I know in my UCLA days, when I was in the marching band, we had a bunch of stand tunes where we had to play these fast hi-hat patterns on the cymbals. And besides the applications for drum set, in marching percussion, you're going to see the 3-stroke pattern. You'll also see Moeller strokes show up in something like flams, where you're alternating flams, but you're starting to go much faster. So like, you'll see a lot of lines do something like this. And that's where the right hand is literally doing Moeller tap, like that, and then the left hand as well. And then you alternate those to get flams, because you start low on the left, go to high, and you alternate those. And you'll also see alternating singles like this, or alternating like this, or in a 4 pattern like this, and a bunch of other patterns like. All right, let's jump into some basic Moeller exercises. So the first exercise is going to be the Moeller triplets pattern I've already shown you, which is right. And I would do that 8 times on each side. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, left. 5, 6, 7, 8, right. And just repeat that on each side and start at a very slow tempo. So here I am, I'm going to be at 120, playing 8th note triplets. repeat that over and over, gradually work up the tempo, but you want to start real slowly with that. So then the second exercise I would do, which you could kind of connect with the first exercise, is to then translate the triplet molar into 6 tuplets. So there's 2 main patterns you could do. The first pattern is to accent the first 2 notes. So like this, you're gonna do 2 Moeller strokes and then all taps underneath it. So right hand is still doing this, and left hand is still doing this, but you're gonna alternate. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. And then you gradually speed that up, you get. So if we practice that with the metronome, I could do the 8 of each side, just triplets first, and then add the 6 tuplets. And then the other version would be 6 tuplets, but you alternate the accents every downbeat and then the and. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And you speed that up, it turns into. So I can do the exact same exercise, set it up with my triplets, and then I'm gonna try that alternating version, R, L, R, L, R, L. Here it goes. And as you're practicing these exercises, you're gonna wanna really focus on the sound quality of your accents to your taps. Does your accent sound equal on each hand? To me, as I'm listening back, I almost feel like my left-hand molar is a little softer than my right. So I might need to increase the amount of kind of energy through that whip motion to get a stronger accent on my left and kind of give it a little more oomph and equal out the dynamic on each hand. You want everything to sound consistent from right to left. And then also listen for rhythmic accuracy. That's why I'm using the subdivision on my metronome here. It's so important to do that so that you can lock in with the metronome. We're all human, we're not perfect, unfortunately, so we need that net to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves. All right, last exercise I encourage you guys to try is Moeller in both 2s and 4s. So instead of every 3, I could go Moeller, upstroke, and then switch to the left hand. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. If you're having a hard time with this, I actually encourage you to do the 4s version first, which is more like this. All right, and then you can do patterns like this. Which is just the 4s, but alternating. If you're gonna alternate, the 2s would turn into this. Or flams, if you play them at the same time, but alternate them, the right hand goes, and the left hand goes tap, accent, accent. Put them together, you get flams. So 4s would turn into something like this. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you drew something away with the Moeller stroke technique, and I hope it was helpful for you. If it was, don't forget to like, drop a comment, let me know what was particularly helpful in this video, and subscribe for even more drum content and drum corps breakdowns, where I'm doing breakdowns of drum corps shows from this season. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you on the other side. Ari Schiller out.